I stood in the empty house, watching the last traces of her presence fade into the stale air. There were still little things scattered around, her perfume bottle on the dresser, a half-drunk cup of coffee on the counter, an abandoned sweater draped over the couch. But the house felt lifeless, hollow, just like our marriage had become. Tonight was the night. She had no idea. She would walk in, expecting things to be the same. Expecting me to still be here, waiting like the fool she always thought I was. But she was in for a surprise. The woman I had married had died a long time ago, replaced by a selfish, manipulative liar. She was a master of deception, wrapping herself in innocence while she sank a dagger into my back. I had seen the messages, the stolen glances, the whispered phone calls. I had seen the cheap motel charges on the credit card statements she thought I didn't check. I had smelled another man on her skin. She never admitted it. She never even flinched when I confronted her, just turned it back on me, acting offended, telling me I was paranoid and controlling. I remember every lie, every excuse, every time she laughed in my face when I asked if there was someone else. But I had been patient. I had waited. I had played the part of the clueless husband while she thought she was winning. Tonight, she would see how wrong she was. I turned one last time, taking in the house I had built with her. It was just a house now, nothing more. There was no warmth left. No love. No memories worth keeping. A car pulled into the driveway. Showtime. I stepped into the shadows, leaving behind nothing but the empty echoes of a life she had destroyed. The front door swung open, and I heard the familiar sound of her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. "Babe?" she called, her voice carrying that same false sweetness she used whenever she wanted something. "Where the hell are you?" I didn't answer. I watched from the shadows as she strutted inside, tossing her purse onto the counter. She was dressed up, tight black dress, red lipstick, perfume that reeked of seduction. I knew exactly where she had been. She kicked off her heels and stretched, groaning slightly as she made her way toward the kitchen. She didn't even notice the silence, the emptiness, the missing pieces of our life. Then she stopped. I saw it register on her face, the absence. The air was too still. The house too quiet. She turned in slow circles, eyes scanning the room, processing. I stepped forward. "Something wrong?" I asked, my voice calm. She jumped, whipping around to face me. For the first time in a long time, I saw something unexpected in her expression. Doubt. "What the hell, you scared me," she snapped, brushing it off, forcing her usual arrogance back into place. "Where were you?" "Here." She rolled her eyes. "And what? You're just standing in the dark like a freak?" I tilted my head. "Waiting." She frowned, stepping closer, finally looking at me, really looking. "What's with you? You look weird." I smiled, slow and deliberate. "Do I?" Something flickered across her face, something she quickly masked. She knew I knew. She had always known. But she had gotten so comfortable with her lies, so sure of her control, that she thought I would just accept it. She sighed, exasperated. "Are we really doing this again? God, you're exhausting." "You were out late," I said casually. She tensed. Just for a second. Then she flipped her hair and scoffed. "So? I went out with the girls. You know, because I actually have a life." I nodded. "The girls?" She folded her arms. "Yes. The girls." I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. A recording played, the sound of her voice, breathy and eager, whispering filthy promises into someone else's ear. Her face drained of color. "I don't think the girls moan like that," I mused, locking eyes with her. Her mouth opened, then shut. I watched her scramble for a lie, for an excuse, for anything that could save her. It was pathetic. "You're spying on me now?" she finally spat, turning defensive. "That's fucking sick." I let out a soft chuckle. "You are unbelievable." She straightened, regaining some of her arrogance. "This doesn't prove anything. That could be anyone. You're just..." I cut her off by playing another clip. This one was unmistakable. Her voice, his voice, their bodies colliding in betrayal. Silence. She swallowed hard, her jaw tightening. "So what? You want me to cry? Beg?" Her voice turned cold, her true self emerging. "You always wanted to trap me in this boring little life, but guess what? I deserve more than this. More than you." I smiled. "That's good," I said softly. That makes this easier. She blinked, thrown off. What? I stepped aside, revealing the single sheet of paper sitting on the kitchen table. She hesitated, then walked over. The moment her eyes landed on it, her entire body went stiff. Divorce papers. Her name already signed. Her face twisted in fury. You son of a bitch. I leaned against the counter, perfectly calm. You thought you'd get to leave first, didn't you? Her eyes flashed with something ugly. You are not leaving me. I let out a quiet laugh. I already have. She shoved the papers aside and stepped closer, her eyes wild now. You don't get to do this to me. I raised a brow. Do what? Leave you the way you left me? Hurt you the way you hurt me? Funny how that works. Her breathing was uneven now. You don't understand. I need. Me? I finished for her. No, you don't. You need what I gave you. Stability. Security. A home. I gestured around. But this isn't yours anymore. Her lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to argue, but something in my voice must have warned her. I pulled a key from my pocket and set it on the counter. Your things are in the guest room. Take them and go. Her face twisted in rage. You can't just throw me out. I can, I said simply. And I did. She shook her head, panic creeping in now. You were making a mistake. I'll tell everyone you abandoned me. That you cheated. That. I laughed outright this time. Tell whoever you want. Do whatever you want. I don't care anymore. She stared at me, and I watched it happen, the moment she realized she had lost. Not just the house. Not just the life she had built on lies. But me. The man she thought would always be there. I turned to leave, but paused in the doorway. Oh, and one more thing. She looked up, still seething. I smiled. Check your accounts. Her face twisted in confusion as she yanked out her phone. Seconds later, her expression shattered into pure horror. Every joint account? Drained. Every luxury she had taken for granted? Gone. I had been planning this for months, moving things, securing what was mine. She thought she was using me. That I would be the fool left picking up the pieces. She was wrong. She turned to me, eyes blazing. You bastard. I just smiled. Enjoy your new life. Then I walked out, leaving her in the ruins of her own making. She had cheated on me. But I had beaten her at her own game. And this? This was just the beginning. I didn't look back as I walked out the door. The sound of her shrieking in rage behind me was satisfying, but I didn't stop to savor it. I had bigger plans. She thought she could destroy me and walk away untouched. She thought she could play me for a fool, that I'd always be there, waiting, hoping she'd love me again. She was about to learn the truth. I climbed into my car and pulled away from the house that was no longer hers. As I drove, I imagined her inside, frantically refreshing her bank apps, scrolling through empty accounts, her mind racing, her perfect little life crumbling around her. She was used to control. She manipulated, twisted, and turned everything in her favor. But now, she had nothing. And I wasn't done yet. The first call I made was to her job. She worked for a prestigious firm, one where image was everything. I had spent months collecting evidence, not just of her affair, but of the lies she told to get ahead. Fake sick days. Fraudulent expense reports. Even a few emails where she had insulted her boss in ways that would make sure she never worked there again. A little anonymous email with all the attached evidence? Sent. Next was the lease on her car. She thought she owned it. She didn't. My name was on everything, and I had already made the necessary calls. By tomorrow morning, it would be repossessed. Her world was going up in flames, and she didn't even know it yet. It wasn't long before my phone started ringing. Her name flashed across the screen, call after call, but I let it ring. Then came the texts. Where the fuck is our money? Answer me, you coward. You can't do this to me. Please, let's talk. I smirked at that last one. She was panicking now. But she still didn't understand. This wasn't about anger. It wasn't even about revenge anymore. This was about justice. This was about making her feel the way she had made me feel, helpless, betrayed, discarded. And I wasn't finished. By the time I got back to my hotel, another message came through. This one made me pause. You don't know what you've done. I chuckled darkly. Oh, but I do. Curious, I typed back. Enlighten me. It didn't take long for her reply. You think this is over? It's not. You have no idea what I'm capable of. I stared at the words, feeling the old anger simmer beneath my skin. For years, she had played this game, acting like she was untouchable, like she was always one step ahead. Even now, after everything I had taken from her, she still thought she had power over me. I wasn't afraid. I had spent too long being the nice guy, the patient husband. But that man was gone now. Try me. I tossed my phone onto the bed and leaned back in my chair, waiting. She wanted a war? She had no idea who she was fighting. And this time, I wouldn't lose. The next morning, I woke up to silence. No more messages, no more calls. I almost laughed. I knew what she was doing, waiting, calculating, trying to figure out her next move. I had taken everything from her in a single night. The house, the money, her comfort, her security. But I wasn't done. She still had one thing left. Her reputation. And I was about to rip that away too. I spent the morning making a few more calls. First, to her family. She had spent years making me the villain in her little stories, twisting every argument, every disagreement, every minor mistake into a way to paint herself as the victim. I had tolerated it because I didn't care what her family thought of me. Now? Now, I cared. Her parents were traditional, the kind of people who valued loyalty and commitment above all else. The kind of people who would never forgive a cheater, especially not their own daughter. I made sure they knew the truth. I forwarded them the evidence, the messages, the videos, the proof of her affair. And then I let them deal with her. By noon, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. A deep, angry voice came through. You motherfucker. I almost laughed. Hello, Daniel. Daniel. Her affair partner. The man who had thought he won. Where the fuck is she? He demanded. I leaned back, enjoying this. Oh? Trouble in paradise? She's losing her goddamn mind, he snapped. She's saying you took everything, that she has nowhere to go. What the fuck did you do? I let the silence stretch just long enough to make him sweat. Then I said, I fixed a mistake. He exhaled sharply. Look, man, I don't know what kind of sick power trip you're on, but she's talking about coming after you. Like, legally. She's saying you stole from her. I smirked. She can try. She won't win. He hesitated. She says you're ruining her life. Good. I smiled. Then I'm doing something right. There was a long silence. Then, in a lower voice, he asked, what's your endgame, man? I stared out the window, feeling the weight of everything she had done. The lies. The betrayal. The way she had made me feel like I was less. She ruined me, I said quietly. Now, I'm just returning the favor. Another pause. Then Daniel muttered, fuck, and hung up. I laughed. An hour later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was her. I let it ring. Then came the text. You win. I stared at it for a long time, feeling nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Just emptiness. Then I typed my final response. I already won the moment I walked away. And with that, I blocked her number. For the first time in years, I felt free. The thing about people like her? They don't just give up. When she said, you win, I knew it wasn't over. It was just another tactic, another ploy to make me lower my guard. But I wasn't stupid. I knew she had one last desperate move left. And I was ready for it. That evening, as I walked back into my new apartment, small, clean, mine, I got an email from my lawyer. Subject, urgent, legal notice from, her name. I smirked as I opened it. There it was. A pathetic, last-ditch attempt to regain control. She was suing me. Or at least, trying to. Her claim? That I had stolen money from our accounts, that I had illegally transferred assets, that I had abandoned our marriage with no notice, leaving her financially devastated. I almost laughed. She had no case. The accounts were legally mine. The house had been in my name. The money she thought she was entitled to? It was never hers to begin with. Still, I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. "Looks like she's still trying to fight," I said. He chuckled. "Let her. This won't hold up in court. She has nothing. No proof, no leverage." "Good," I said. "Then let's bury her." I sent him every scrap of evidence I had, the screenshots, the messages, the receipts, the proof that she had been planning to leave me first. By the time we were done, she wasn't just going to lose. She was going to regret ever trying to cross me again. The next day, I went to work like nothing had happened. It was funny, really. A few months ago, I would have been obsessing over her texts, her threats, her every move. But now I was just tired of her. I had moved on. She was the one stuck in the past. And that's why, when she showed up at my office later that day, I wasn't even surprised. I saw her through the glass doors before she saw me. She looked rough. Her hair was a mess, her clothes wrinkled. She wasn't wearing makeup, and for the first time, I saw age in her face. Not physical age, but the weight of consequences. She had spent her life thinking she was untouchable. She had never been humbled before. Until now. I stepped out of my office and walked toward the lobby, watching as her eyes locked onto me. She straightened, flipping her hair back, trying to reclaim that confidence. But I saw the cracks. She forced a smile. "Can we talk?" I folded my arms. "We are." She exhaled sharply. "Not here." "Why not?" I asked. "You made a scene showing up at my job. Might as well say what you came to say." Her eyes flared with irritation, but she forced it down. I just want to understand why you're doing this." I chuckled. "Are you serious?" She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You loved me once." I nodded. "I did." Her face faltered. "Then why are you trying to destroy me?" I tilted my head. "That's funny coming from you." She swallowed hard. "Look, I know I messed up, but—" I cut her off. "You didn't just mess up. You chose this. Over and over. You lied. You cheated. You played games." I took a step forward, my voice lowering. "And now you don't like the consequences." She blinked rapidly, struggling to keep her composure. I don't know what to do." I smirked. "Not my problem." Her lips parted slightly, like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. She had always thought I'd forgive her. That I'd still be there, even after everything. But I wasn't. And I never would be again. She let out a shuddering breath. "So that's it?" "That's it." She nodded slowly, biting her lip. "I hope you're happy." I smiled. "I am." Then I turned and walked away. And this time, she didn't follow. I didn't look back. Not when I walked past the reception desk. Not when I stepped into the elevator. Not when I reached my office and closed the door behind me. She was nothing more than a shadow now, a ghost of a past life I had left behind. And yet, as I sat down at my desk, I knew she wouldn't disappear so easily. People like her never do. That evening, I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't answer. Then another. And another. By the time my phone buzzed with a message, I already knew who it was. "You think you're done with me? You're not." I sighed. She was unraveling. Desperate. And desperate people do stupid things. Part of me wondered what her next move would be. A smear campaign? Fake accusations? Maybe she'd try to turn mutual friends against me, twist the story to make herself the victim. I didn't care. The people who mattered already knew the truth. The rest? They could believe whatever they wanted. I was free. The next few days passed in blissful silence. No more messages. No more calls. No more signs of her. I figured she had finally accepted her loss. I was wrong. It was Friday night when I got the text from my best friend, Evan. "Dude. You need to see this." A screenshot followed. I stared at the image, my blood cooling. She had posted about me. Publicly. A long, rambling post, painting herself as the heartbroken wife whose evil, abusive husband had stolen everything from her and abandoned her without warning. Twisting the story. Playing the victim. I should have expected it. But the kicker? She had included my full name. My job. My picture. She wanted to ruin me. She wanted the world to see me as the villain. She wanted to bait me into reacting. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. I smirked, tossing my phone onto the couch. Nice try. She thought she could control the narrative. She thought she could win back sympathy, turn people against me. But she didn't realize something. I had one final move left. And when I played it, she wouldn't just lose. She'd never recover. I sat there for a long moment, staring at the pathetic attempt she had made to drag me back into her chaos. It was laughable, really. She had spent years crafting the perfect image: devoted wife, successful career woman, social butterfly. Now, in her desperation, she was setting fire to everything she had built. And she thought I would panic. She thought I'd rush to defend myself, get into an online war, beg for people to hear my side. She thought wrong. I wasn't going to fight her. I was going to finish her. First, I sent Evan a quick message. Don't engage. Don't comment. Just watch. Then, I picked up my phone and made one last call. Hey, I said when the lawyer answered. It's time. The beauty of her mistake was that she had just made my job easier. She had publicly defamed me, lied about our marriage, and posted my personal information for the world to see. She had no idea what kind of legal hell she had just opened for herself. Within the hour, my lawyer had drafted and sent a cease and desist letter to every platform she had posted on. Defamation? Harassment? Endangering my career? She was going to learn real fast that words have consequences. But I wasn't done. Her boss had been CC'd in the legal notice. The same boss who had zero tolerance for scandal, bad press, or drama. And let's not forget, her job already had a file on her. You see, when I sent that anonymous report about her fraudulent expenses, it didn't just disappear. It had been under review. They had been investigating her, waiting for a reason to act. Now? She had given them one. The next morning, I got a call from Evan. I picked up with a smirk. Let me guess. She lost her job. I chuckled. Took them long enough. She's losing it, man. Blowing up the group chat. Saying you set her up. I leaned back in my chair. I didn't set her up. I just let her destroy herself. Evan laughed. You were cold, bro. Not cold, I corrected. Just done. And for the first time in years, I meant it. I poured myself a drink, savoring the quiet. It was over. Her job? Gone. Her money? Gone. Her reputation? Shattered. And the best part? She had no one to blame but herself. She had always thought she was invincible, that she could manipulate her way out of anything. But she had played the game too long, and this time, she had lost. Badly. My phone buzzed again. Evan. I smirked as I answered. She freaking out? Oh, dude. She's in full meltdown mode. I leaned back, amused. How bad? She's in the chat, screaming about how you ruined her life. Says she's going to sue you for emotional distress. I laughed. She's really grasping now, huh? Oh, it gets better. Evan's voice turned smug. Guess who dumped her? I sat up, suddenly interested. Daniel? Yup. Kicked her out. I grinned. Perfect. I had taken everything from her. Everything. And now, even the man she had betrayed me for had finally seen through her. She had nothing. No job. No money. No home. No allies. She was alone. And I wanted her to feel every second of it. That night, I got one final message. It was from her. Congratulations. You destroyed me. You happy now? I stared at the words, feeling nothing. No guilt. No regret. Not even satisfaction. Just freedom. I typed back. You destroyed yourself. I just watched. Then, I blocked her for good. And with that, she was nothing more than a ghost. A painful lesson. A cautionary tale. And the final chapter of a story I had already closed. Blocking her should have been the end of it. It should have been the final nail in her coffin, the last time I ever had to hear her name. But people like her? They don't just disappear. They cling. They beg, they scheme, they plot. And sure enough, she wasn't done. Not yet. 2 days later, Evan sent me another text. "Bro. She's at your old house." I frowned. "What do you mean, at my old house?" "Like, sitting in the driveway. She looks like shit." I sighed, running a hand through my hair. I didn't even live there anymore. The house had already been listed for sale. There was nothing for her there. Except, maybe, the ghost of the life she had destroyed. "Call the cops if she starts anything." "Dude. I think she's waiting for you." I shook my head. She was pathetic. After all the damage she had done, all the bridges she had burned, she still thought I'd come running. She still thought she mattered. She didn't. Not anymore. By the time I drove past the house later that evening, she was gone. But something told me this wasn't the last of it. I was right. The next morning, I woke up to a knock at my door. Hard. Aggressive. Desperate. I checked the peephole. Her. Of course. I sighed, opening the door just enough to look at her. "You were trespassing." She looked like hell. Dark circles under her eyes, hair a mess, makeup smudged from either crying or drinking, maybe both. "Please," she whispered. "Just talk to me." I gave her a blank stare. "Why?" Her lip trembled. "I have nothing left." "Sounds like a you problem." She flinched, like I had slapped her. I just. She exhaled sharply. "I don't know what to do." I tilted my head. "Not my concern." Her eyes flashed. That same manipulative rage I had seen so many times before. "You think you're so fucking perfect, don't you?" I smirked. "No. Just smarter than you." She clenched her fists. "I loved you." I laughed. "You loved using me." Silence. She had nothing left to say. So I did the one thing that would truly break her. I stepped back, and shut the door in her face. No words. No closure. Just silence. I watched through the peephole as she stood there, trembling, waiting for me to come back. I didn't. After a long moment, she turned and walked away. And that? That was the last time I ever saw her. That was supposed to be the end. But people like her don't know when to quit. They don't accept consequences. They don't take responsibility. And when they have nothing left, they self-destruct. A week passed in silence. No calls. No texts. No sudden appearances at my door. For the first time in years, my life felt normal. Peaceful. And then, Evan called. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I should. I put the phone to my ear. "What's up, dude?" His voice was tense. "She got arrested." I blinked. "What?" She fucking lost it, man. Went on some drunken rampage. Smashed Daniel's car, got into it with the cops. Full-on meltdown. I sat back, processing. Wait, she went after Daniel? Evan let out a sharp laugh. "Yeah. Guess she thought he was still her safety net. When he kicked her out, she lost her shit. Started screaming outside his apartment, threw a rock through his windshield." I shook my head. Jesus. "Oh, it gets better." Evan's voice dropped. "She called his fiancée." I froze. "His fiancée? Oh. Oh, that's interesting." "You mean?" "Yup," Evan cut in. "He was engaged the whole time." I let out a low whistle. "Karma's a bitch." She really thought he was gonna take her back. Evan chuckled. "But turns out she was just his side piece." I grinned. "So she lost her job, her money, her home, and the guy she blew up her life for was never even hers." Evan snorted. "Pretty much." "And now she's in jail?" "Just for the night. But dude, her mugshot is all over Facebook." I laughed. "Hard. Send it." A second later, my phone buzzed with a notification. I opened it. And there she was. Mascara smeared, hair a mess, rage and humiliation written all over her face. The perfect ending to the perfect downfall. I stared at the image for a long moment. And then, finally, I smiled. She had spent years trying to destroy me. But in the end, she had destroyed herself. I stared at the mugshot for a long moment. Not out of pity. Not out of regret. But because it was proof. Proof that she wasn't untouchable. Proof that karma was real. Proof that she had finally hit rock bottom. And the best part? I didn't have to lift a damn finger. She had done this to herself. Evan's voice crackled through the phone. So, how's it feel? I took a slow sip of my drink. To watch her crash and burn? Yeah. I thought about it for a second. Then I shrugged. Honestly? It feels like justice. Evan let out a low whistle. Damn. You really don't feel bad? I raised an eyebrow. Should I? She's got nothing left, man. Yeah, I said, smirking. Just like she wanted for me. Evan was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed. Shit. You were right. I glanced at the mugshot one last time. Then I deleted it. She was irrelevant now. By the next day, the news had spread. Mutual friends were talking. Some were shocked. Others claimed they always knew she had it in her. And then there were the sympathizers. The people who still fell for her crocodile tears. One of them, a mutual acquaintance named Lisa, texted me. Hey, I know things were messy, but do you really think she deserves this? I smirked. Deserves what? The consequences of her own actions? She read it but didn't reply. Because she knew I was right. A few days later, I heard the final update from Evan. She's leaving town, he said. I raised an eyebrow. For good? She's saying it's temporary, but come on. She burned every bridge here. No job, no money, no friends. She has nothing left. I exhaled slowly. Damn. Evan chuckled. Admit it. It feels good. I smiled. Yeah. It did. That night, as I sat in my new apartment, a strange feeling settled over me. Not regret. Not sadness. Just peace. She was gone. For the first time in years, she couldn't hurt me. She couldn't lie to me, cheat on me, manipulate me. She was out of my life. And that? That was the real victory.